I told a customer that her baby's name was from an anime character and not what her husband told her. Now they're separating and everyone's mad at me for breaking up a family. I work at a daycare and we just enrolled a baby named Vriska. We're encouraged to build rapport with parents by finding common interests. So I chat with some about makeup, others about sports, whatever clicks. When I saw the name Vriska on the enrollment, I immediately got excited because I'm a huge Homestuck fan and recognized it instantly. At pickup that day, I met the mom for the first time. She seemed really sweet, kind of bohemian with crystal jewelry and those flowing skirts. I smiled big and said, "I have to tell you, I love that you named your daughter Vriska. Homestuck is such a great comic." She looked at me with complete confusion. "What's Homestuck?" My excitement died instantly. I felt my face getting hot. "Oh, it's this webcomic. One of the main characters is named Vriska. But never mind, probably just a coincidence." I tried to laugh it off, but inside I was certain it wasn't. The name Vriska didn't exist before Homestuck. She smiled warmly and started explaining. "No, Vriska is actually really meaningful. My husband came up with it. He told me he'd created it from the Sanskrit word Vrishika, which means Scorpio. I'm really into astrology and crystals, and our daughter was born under Scorpio, so the name was perfect." I'm nodding along politely, but my brain is screaming because that's the exact backstory of the character Vriska in Homestuck, word for word. The character's name literally comes from Vrishika, meaning Scorpio. She kept going, telling me how touched she was because her husband usually thinks astrology is completely stupid. He makes fun of her crystals and rolls his eyes when she talks about Mercury retrograde. But for their daughter, he supposedly spent weeks researching, brought home books about Vedic astrology, showed her multiple websites about Vrishika, even created a whole binder of research showing how he developed the name. I just stood there smiling and nodding like an idiot while internally losing my mind. This man had created an entire fake paper trail to convince his wife he'd invented an original name when he'd really just named their kid after his anime waifu. I didn't say anything else that day. I went home and couldn't stop thinking about it. Part of me felt like maybe I should have kept quiet, but another part felt she deserved to know. 3 days later, she came back to the daycare. She walked straight up to me with this look, not angry, just exhausted and sad. She said quietly, "I need to withdraw Vriska from the program. We're moving in with my parents." I asked if everything was okay. She took a deep breath. "I googled Vrishika like you mentioned. Then I googled Vriska Homestuck." She paused, eyes watery. Then I confronted my husband. When she showed him the evidence, he completely broke down and confessed. He wasn't just a casual fan. He was obsessed. Fan art saved on his computer, fan fiction he'd written, the whole thing. He'd been planning this for months before their daughter was even born. But here's what made my blood run cold. He told her he knew she'd eventually find out, but he'd researched the legal time limit for changing a baby's name. In our state, you have exactly 12 months to file with a simple form. After that, it requires court, lawyers, compelling reasons. His plan was waiting it out. They'd been strictly isolating because of COVID, barely seeing anyone. He figured if he made it past that 12-month mark, she'd be stuck with the name, even after discovering the truth. Too expensive and complicated to change. She actually thanked me for exposing him. She said it wasn't about the name. It was realizing the lengths he'd go to manipulate her. If he could do this with their daughter's name, what else could he lie about? When she left, I sat there feeling numb. My coworkers started whispering. Within 2 weeks, I had 3,000 followers sharing their own stories on an anonymous Instagram I'd made. Then a message from someone claiming to be a therapist. Said 4 of her clients had separated after finding my account, but that wasn't why she was contacting me. One client, a father who'd been exposed, had spent their last session talking about me in a way that terrified her. She'd tried calling the police, but they said he hadn't made a direct threat. She was breaking confidentiality to warn me. I asked what he'd said. She started typing, stopped, started again. Then instead of text, she sent a voice memo. I pressed play. It was a recording from her session. A man's voice. Calm, detailed, describing exactly how he'd been following me for 3 weeks and what he was planning to do tomorrow. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. I had to sit down on my couch because my legs literally felt like they were going to give out. I played it again, trying to hear every word clearly, trying to catch some detail that would tell me if this was real or some kind of sick joke. But the second time through, something felt off. The man wasn't threatening me. He was crying. "I've been sleeping in my car outside her apartment for 3 weeks. His voice cracked through my speakers. "I just need someone to believe my side of this. My wife kicked me out and she's using that daycare incident as proof I'm a liar in the custody filing. I'm not dangerous. I don't know what else to do. I can't afford a hotel. I can't go to my parents because they think I'm the bad guy too. I've been eating McDonald's dollar menu items and showering at the gym, and I just need someone to understand that I'm not the monster everyone thinks I am." The recording ended abruptly, like she'd stopped it mid-session. Before I could process what I'd just heard, another message came through from the therapist. "I shouldn't have sent that. Please delete it. I'm his sister and I'm terrified of what my sister-in-law will do if she finds out I warned you. She already threatened to report me to the licensing board once for talking to their couple's therapist behind her back. I could lose everything. Please just delete this and forget I contacted you." I stared at the message for like 5 full minutes. His sister? This therapist was related to the guy supposedly stalking me? None of this made any sense. The ethical violations alone were insane. I typed back asking what she meant, asking why she'd send me a recording of her own client, asking if I should actually be worried, but the account had already been deleted. Just gone. When I tried to play the voice memo again, it had been removed from the chat. That night, I barely slept. Every car door closing outside my building made me jump. I kept checking the parking lot from my window, looking for someone sitting in a vehicle, but I didn't even know what kind of car to look for. My apartment complex has like 60 units, and the parking lot is always full. Any one of those cars could have someone in it. I called in sick the next day. I know that sounds dramatic, but I genuinely felt like I was going to throw up every time I thought about going outside. I spent the morning Googling what to do when someone's stalking you, but the police won't help. Every article basically said the same thing. Document everything, change your routine, tell people you trust. But I didn't have any documentation except a deleted voice memo, and I didn't know who to trust anymore. Around 11, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Hi, this is calling about Vriska. It was the mother's voice, but different, steady and cold, like she was reading from a script. I need you to do something for me. My stomach dropped. Okay? I need a written statement from you, for my divorce lawyer, just confirming what you told me that day about my husband lying about our daughter's name. The court date is in 3 weeks, and I need documentation from the objective third party who discovered the deception. My lawyer says witness testimony from a neutral professional is crucial. I shifted my weight, phone pressed tight against my ear. I mean, I'm not sure I should get involved in legal stuff. I just work at a daycare. That's not really my area. You told me yourself he lied. Her voice had an edge now, sharp enough to cut. I'm just asking you to repeat that officially. You do believe he lied, don't you? Or were you wrong about that? Well, yeah, but I mean, then it shouldn't be a problem. Can you meet me today? I'll come to you, wherever you want. I can be there in an hour. Something about her tone made my skin crawl, but I heard myself saying yes anyway. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my apartment at 6. She said she'd be wearing a green scarf so I'd recognize her, which was weird because we'd met before, but whatever. I spent the afternoon pacing around my apartment, trying to figure out what I was going to say. Part of me wanted to help her. Her husband had lied, right? That was wrong. But the voice memo from his sister kept playing in my head. The way he'd been crying. The way he'd said he just needed someone to believe him. She showed up at exactly 6, carrying a leather folder that looked expensive. She ordered nothing, just sat down across from me and slid a paper across the table. Her green scarf was silk, I noticed. Probably cost more than my entire outfit. I had my lawyer draft this based on our conversation.
It's just a basic witness statement. You read it over and sign at the bottom if it's accurate. I picked it up and started reading. The first paragraph described our initial conversation at the daycare, how I'd recognized the name Vriska from Homestuck and mentioned it to her. That part was fine. But then the second paragraph went off the rails. It said I'd watched her break down sobbing when she'd actually stayed totally composed. It claimed the conversation lasted over 30 minutes, when it was maybe 10 minutes max. It said I'd consoled her while she processed the betrayal, when I'd mostly just stood there awkwardly. I said, looking up at her. Some of this isn't exactly how I remember it. Her expression didn't change, just looked at me with these flat eyes. What part? Like, it says here you were crying, but you weren't. You were actually pretty calm about it, and we definitely didn't talk for 30 minutes. Maybe 10. She waved her hand dismissively. Those are minor details. The important part is that my husband lied about the name Origin. That's the core truth, right? That's what matters to the court. I guess. But if I'm signing something for court, shouldn't it be like, completely accurate? Isn't that the whole point? Her jaw tightened. I could see a muscle working under her skin. The statement is accurate where it matters. Do you really want to derail my custody case over whether I cried or not? Over whether we talked for 10 minutes or 30? I'm not trying to derail anything. I just don't feel comfortable signing something that says things that didn't happen. That's literally lying. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, and turned the screen toward me. It was my Instagram account, the anonymous one I'd made to document unusual baby names. She'd screenshot probably 20 different posts, all showing pictures I'd taken at the daycare, kids' artwork with their names visible, stories about conversations with parents. Some of the pictures had the kids themselves in the background, blurred but recognizable. Does your daycare's corporate office know you've been sharing client information publicly? She asked quietly. Because I'm looking at their social media policy right now, and it specifically prohibits staff from posting identifiable information about enrolled children on personal accounts. My throat went dry. That's anonymous. There's no way to connect that to the actual kids or families. I never used real names. Really? Because I recognized my daughter's painting in this post from November, the one with the purple handprints and her name in the corner, and if I can figure it out, so can others. She zoomed in on one of the photos. Sure enough, there was Vriska's name tag visible in the background. I'm sure it's fine though. Probably not even a violation of your employment contract. Though I did notice you signed an agreement when you were hired that you wouldn't photograph children without explicit written consent. She locked her phone and put it back in her purse. Think about it. I'll be in touch. She stood up, leaving the unsigned statement on the table. She didn't touch her scarf, just walked out into the early evening like she hadn't just threatened to destroy my career. I sat there for probably 20 minutes after she left, just staring at that paper. The coffee shop staff started wiping down tables around me, giving me looks. One of them finally came over and asked if I was okay. I said yeah, and left. Walking home, I kept looking over my shoulder. Every person behind me felt like a threat. Every car slowing down felt intentional. The next day, I got a message request on Instagram from a profile with no picture and a random string of numbers for a username. The profile had been created that day. No posts, no followers, nothing. Please, I need to talk to you. This is Vriska's dad. I know you probably think I'm dangerous, but I'm not. I can prove my wife is lying about everything. Can we meet somewhere public? I have evidence. Please, I'm begging you. I should have blocked him immediately. I know that. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to delete the message and pretend I'd never seen it. But I was already in so deep, and honestly, I wanted to know what he meant by lying about everything. What evidence could he possibly have? I stared at the message for like an hour before I finally responded. I agreed to meet him at a busy park the next afternoon. The kind with joggers and families and people walking dogs. The kind where nothing bad could happen because there were too many witnesses. I got there early and positioned myself near a playground where there'd be tons of people around. I brought pepper spray in my jacket pocket.
My finger was literally on the trigger the whole time. He showed up looking like he'd aged 10 years since the last time I'd seen him at pickup. Wrinkled shirt that might have been the same one he'd worn for days. Unshaven, but not in a trendy way. More like he'd forgotten what a razor was. Dark circles under his eyes so deep they looked like bruises. He was carrying a backpack that was stuffed full of something. He sat on the bench beside me but kept a respectful distance, like 3 feet at least. His hands were shaking. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. His voice was hoarse. "I know this is weird. I know you probably think I'm insane. I promise I'm not trying to scare you or anything. Your sister sent me a recording of you talking about following me," I said. "No point in beating around the bush." He closed his eyes. "I know. She shouldn't have done that. She's trying to help, but she doesn't understand how it looks." He took a breath. "I was venting in therapy about how this whole situation has destroyed my life. I wasn't actually following you. I was sleeping in my car outside my old apartment complex because I have nowhere else to go and I was trying to see my daughter through the window. That's it. My wife got a restraining order so I can't go within 500 feet of the house, but I can park on the street legally." "Okay," I said slowly. "But that's still kind of... I know how it sounds. I know." He pulled out his phone, hands trembling so bad he almost dropped it. "But I need to show you something. My wife, before we got married, she had this Tumblr account. This is from 2014. He handed me his phone. On the screen was an old Tumblr post. The username had been deactivated, but the post was still visible through some archive site called the Wayback Machine. It was a long, rambling post about Homestuck characters and zodiac signs, and which trolls matched which astrological houses. Right at the bottom it said, "Okay, but if I ever have a Scorpio baby girl, I'm naming her Vriska IDC IDC. That's literally the perfect name and nobody can stop me." The post had like 3 notes. It was dated September 2014. I looked up at him. "This is your wife's account?" "Yes, and look at these." He scrolled to show me screenshots of text messages between them from early in their relationship, back in 2015. They were talking about Homestuck, sending each other fan art, discussing their favorite characters. She'd sent him a message that said, "You know I'm still naming my future daughter Vriska, right? You can't stop me, LOL." He'd responded with, "Only if she's a Scorpio though," and she'd sent back a bunch of laughing emojis. There were dozens of messages like that. Screenshots of conversations about the comic, about the characters, about their theoretical future children. In one exchange from 2016, she'd sent him a link to a baby name site and said, "Look, Vriska isn't on here yet. We could be the first ones." "So she knew," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "She knew exactly what the name meant. The whole thing was her idea from the beginning. When she got pregnant and we found out the due date would make the baby a Scorpio, she's the one who brought up the name. She told me to suggest it like I'd invented it because she thought it would be more meaningful that way. Like a romantic gesture. Like I'd done all this research just for her." He ran his hand through his hair and I noticed it was greasy, unwashed. I went along with it because it seemed harmless. We both loved the comic. We both wanted the name. I had no idea she'd use it against me later. Why would she do this? His face crumpled. Like actually crumpled. Like a piece of paper being crushed. Because she wanted out of the marriage and she needed ammunition for custody. I'm not a bad father. I've never hurt anyone. I don't yell. I don't drink. I've never even gotten a speeding ticket. But I also don't make much money. I'm a substitute teacher. And she met this guy at her yoga studio who's a corporate lawyer. Makes like $300,000 a year. His voice cracked. Her lawyer told her the best way to get primary custody was to establish a pattern of dishonesty and manipulation. To make me look untrustworthy. To make the court think I'm the kind of person who'd lie about important things. I felt sick. "She's moving to Vermont with Vriska. I'll get 1 supervised weekend a month if I'm lucky. Do you know how expensive it is to fly to Vermont every month? I can't afford that. I'll basically never see my daughter grow up. I need you to testify," he said. "Or at least show this evidence to her lawyer, to someone who can do something with it. Please. She's taking my daughter across the country based on a lie." I took screenshots of everything on my own phone. The Tumblr post, the text messages, all of it. My hands were shaking now too. "Let me think about this," I said. He nodded and stood up. "Thank you. Seriously. Just thank you for listening. Nobody else will. Everyone thinks I'm the bad guy. Even my own family believes her because she's so good at crying on cue." After he left, I sat on that bench until the sun started setting and the park lights came on. Families packed up their picnic blankets. Joggers finished their routes. The playground emptied out. I just sat there staring at my phone, reading those old text messages over and over. Finally, I called Vriska's mom. She answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. "Have you reconsidered signing the statement?" "I saw your old Tumblr," I said, "from 2014. The post about naming your Scorpio baby Vriska." Silence on the other end. Not the kind of silence where someone's thinking, the kind where someone's calculating. "Your husband showed me the text messages too, from when you were dating. You knew exactly what the name meant. You planned it together. It was your idea." More silence. then. That was a decade ago. I barely remembered that post. When my husband suggested Vriska, I genuinely thought he'd created it like he claimed. I didn't make the connection to something I'd posted years earlier. But the text messages say, we're from when we were dating. People say a lot of things when they're young. We talked about a million hypothetical baby names. I don't remember every conversation we ever had. Her voice was sharp now, defensive. The betrayal is that he let me believe a lie instead of reminding me of my own forgotten post. He could have said, remember that name you loved from the comic? But he didn't. He pretended it was this original creation just for me. That's manipulation. That's not what he told me. He said you asked him to. Of course that's what he told you. He's trying to save himself. And honestly, are you really going to help my husband keep access to our daughter based on what I posted as a 22-year-old? Are you really going to take his word over mine? I'm going to testify about what I found if I get subpoenaed. The court should know the full story. They should see all the evidence and make their own decision. She laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. It was cold and sharp and made my skin crawl. Testify. Sure. Hey, where are you working these days? What? I'm just curious. Are you still at Little Sprouts Daycare or did you move on to somewhere new? I didn't answer. Because I already filed complaints with their corporate office this morning. About your Instagram account, about how you've been posting pictures of enrolled children without parental consent. 4 other mothers from your followers reached out to me after I posted in a local mom group asking if anyone recognized the kids in your photos. They said you posted about their children without permission. The corporate office is very interested in investigating. They called me an hour ago to get more details. She paused. But you know, I could tell them it was all a misunderstanding, that those moms are overreacting, that I reviewed the photos more carefully and actually don't think my daughter is identifiable, if you wanted me to. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Are you seriously threatening my job right now? I'm not threatening anything. I'm just explaining the situation. You seem like a smart person. I'm sure you'll make the right choice. She hung up. I sat in my car in the parking lot for probably an hour, just staring at the steering wheel. My phone kept buzzing with texts from my roommate asking where I was, if I was okay, if I wanted her to save me leftovers from dinner. I ignored all of them. Finally, I Googled the husband's lawyer's office, found their website, called the main number even though it was after hours, got an answering service and left a message saying I had evidence that might help their case. I left my name and number and hung up. The lawyer called me back at 8 in the morning the next day. I was still in bed, having barely slept. I answered on the first ring. I explained who I was and what I'd seen. I sent her all the screenshots, the Tumblr post, the text messages, everything. She was quiet for a long time while she reviewed them. I could hear her clicking through the files, zooming in probably. Finally, she spoke. This is interesting, she said. Her tone was careful, measured, like she was choosing every word. But I need to be honest with you about what this actually proves, legally speaking. It proves she lied. It proves she knew about the name the whole time. It proves she posted about the name 10 years ago. It proves they discussed it while dating. That's it. She sighed, and I could hear papers rustling in the background.
The mother can claim she genuinely forgot about that old post. Memory fades. She can say that when her husband suggested the name years later, she didn't make the connection. A judge is more likely to believe a mother who says she felt deceived than to side with the father based on decade-old social media that she may or may not have remembered. But that's insane. The text messages are right there. The text messages show they discussed the comic together years ago. That's it. It doesn't prove she remembered those specific conversations when their baby was born. It doesn't prove she was lying when she said she thought he'd created the name. Another pause. Look, your testimony would be marginally helpful at best. It might plant some doubt, but it's not the smoking gun you think it is. My chest felt tight. So there's nothing that can help him? And I need to ask, are you prepared to be torn apart on cross-examination? Because opposing counsel will absolutely grill you. They'll ask about your Instagram account. They'll ask why you initially exposed the husband, but now you're defending him. They'll imply he manipulated you or coached you. They'll make it look like you're changing your story to help a man you barely know. She let that sink in. Your credibility will be destroyed. And even after all that, the evidence still might not be enough to change the custody outcome. I felt sick. So I'd be risking everything for nothing? I'm not going to call you as a witness. The risk outweighs the benefit, both for you and for my client. If you're subpoenaed by opposing counsel, we'll deal with that then. But I'm not putting you on the stand voluntarily. She softened a bit. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to help, but this is the reality of family court. After I hung up, I just sat there in the dark bedroom. My roommate knocked on the door asking if I wanted breakfast. I said no. My phone rang again an hour later. Vriska's mom. I heard you contacted his lawyer, she said. Her voice was friendly now, warm, like we were old friends catching up. I appreciate that you're trying to stay neutral. That's very professional of you. Very mature. How did you know I called them? His sister told me. We're actually on good terms, believe it or not. She thinks I'm doing the right thing. She knows her brother has issues with honesty. She's the one who suggested he start therapy in the first place. A pause. Hey, I've been thinking about our first conversation. At the daycare, that first day. Do you remember exactly how it started? Like, who brought up Homestuck first? My mind went blank. I tried to replay the conversation, but it felt fuzzy now, like trying to remember a dream. I did. I saw her name on the enrollment and got excited. I mentioned it when you picked her up. Are you sure? Because I remember it differently.
I think I might have mentioned being interested in webcomics and you suggested Homestuck. Or maybe I asked if the name reminded you of anything. No, I definitely brought it up first. I remember because I felt awkward afterward. Memory is funny like that. We both remember it differently. She sounded thoughtful, philosophical almost. Our brains fill in gaps, you know? Create narratives that make sense to us. Sometimes what we remember isn't exactly what happened. I know what I said. Of course. I'm not arguing with you. She was quiet for a second. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you again for everything you've done. This whole process has been so hard and you've been a real help. Sleep well. She hung up. I sat there trying to replay that first conversation in my head. I'd walked up to her at pickup, right? Or had she approached me? I'd said something about loving the name. I was sure of that. But had she prompted me somehow? Asked me if I recognized it? The more I tried to remember exact words, the less certain I became. It was like the memory was dissolving the more I focused on it. The next morning, I couldn't focus at work. During nap time, I told my supervisor I needed to check something in the office. I went in and pulled out the filing cabinet where we keep enrollment paperwork. I found Vriska's file. There was a section on the form for parent preferences on classroom assignment. Most parents left it blank or wrote something generic like wherever there's space. But Vriska's mom had filled it out. She'd requested my classroom specifically. In the reason for preference box, she'd written in neat handwriting. Heard wonderful things about this teacher's enthusiasm and personal connection with families. Would love for our daughter to be in her class. My hands started shaking. I checked the enrollment date. March 15th. Then I pulled out my phone and scrolled back through my deleted Instagram posts that I'd saved in my photos before deactivating the account. I found the post I was looking for. March 1st, 2 weeks before Vriska's enrollment. The post said, "Absolutely love when parents choose meaningful literary names for their kids. There's something so special about a child growing up knowing their name has significance and history behind it. It shows real thought and care. What are your favorite literary baby names?" I checked the followers list I'd saved, scrolled through the usernames. There, @KristaLotus22, following my account since February 28th, 3 days before my post about literary names. The account was deactivated now, but I'd bet everything I owned that it belonged to Vriska's mom. She'd been following me before we ever met. My supervisor knocked on the door asking if I was okay. I said yeah, just dealing with some paperwork. My voice sounded far away. I screenshotted everything. The enrollment form, the Instagram post, the followers list with the date. Then I texted all of it to Vriska's mom. Just the screenshots, no message. She called immediately. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "What exactly do you think you've discovered?" she asked. No friendly tone now, just flat and cold. "You planned this. You found my Instagram, saw I was into Homestuck, and enrolled Vriska in my classroom specifically because you knew I'd recognize the name and say something. And you manipulated me into exposing your husband. This whole thing was a setup from the beginning. I researched daycares in the area. I found your Instagram through the daycare's tagged photos. I saw you were enthusiastic and engaged with parents. I thought you seemed like a nice person who'd be good with my daughter." Her voice was completely calm. "That's not manipulation. That's due diligence as a parent. You knew exactly what would happen when I saw her name. I thought you might recognize it, sure. And if you did, that would be a nice conversation. A shared interest. That's what your daycare encourages, right? Building rapport through common ground?" She paused. "I didn't force you to say anything. I didn't ask you to look up the name. You chose to do that. You chose to tell me what you found. Because you acted like you didn't know. You played dumb." Now she laughed. For real this time. Full and genuine. "Okay, yes. You want the truth? Fine. I knew exactly what would happen. I needed a credible witness to publicly expose the name's origin. Something that looked organic and unplanned. Something that didn't come from me. Because if it came from me, it would look like I was trying to manufacture evidence." Her voice was steady, matter of fact. "I needed it to be discovered naturally by a neutral third party. And you gave me exactly that. You're actually admitting this? Why not? What are you going to do? Tell people you were manipulated? Go ahead. Tell everyone you got played by a mom with a crystal collection and a yoga membership. See how that makes you look." She was enjoying this. I could hear it in her voice. "Tell the court you're recanting your original statement. See if they don't think my husband coached you. See if they don't think you're unstable or compromised or just looking for attention. You destroyed a family. I protected my daughter. There's a difference." Her voice hardened. "You think I wanted to do this? You think I enjoyed creating an elaborate plan to document my husband's dishonesty? I've been planning to leave him for over a year, but he's not abusive. He's not neglectful. He's just boring and broke, and I found someone better. Someone who can provide for our daughter properly. So this was just about money? This was about giving my daughter the best life possible. To get primary custody when there's no abuse or addiction, I needed documented proof of character issues. Dishonesty, manipulation, anything that made him look untrustworthy to a judge." She sounded almost proud. "You think I cried to you about Sanskrit by accident? I practiced that confused act for weeks. The whole wounded wife routine, I knew exactly how to play it. You're insane. I'm practical and strategic, and you were perfect for what I needed. Young, enthusiastic, active on social media, the kind of person who'd post about an interesting name without thinking twice." She paused. "You made it so easy. You practically wrote the evidence for me. I'm going to tell everyone what you did. Go ahead. Tell people you were manipulated into exposing a family secret. See how that narrative plays. Tell the court you're now defending the husband because he showed you some old Tumblr posts. See if they don't think he manipulated you right back." She wasn't even trying to hide her contempt anymore. "You already did what I needed. Anything you do now just makes you look unstable or like you've been compromised. Either way, your credibility is shot. People will believe me. Will they, though? Because from where I'm standing, you look like a daycare worker who violated confidentiality, posted about clients' children online without permission, and is now desperately trying to backtrack after realizing the consequences. She let that hang in the air. My lawyer already has your Instagram posts printed and filed as evidence. Your little crusade to expose baby names is part of the public record now. Very compelling to judges who care about privacy and boundaries. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. You set me up from the beginning. I created an opportunity and you took it. That's not the same thing. She sounded bored now. Look, I don't expect you to understand. You don't have kids. You don't know what it's like to do whatever it takes to protect your child's future. This isn't personal. You were just useful. Useful, I repeated. The Instagram post was perfect evidence, by the way. My lawyer printed it out in color. It's right there in the case file with your username visible. Very compelling visual for the judge. Really drives home the husband's dishonesty. She paused. I really do appreciate your help. Genuinely. You played your part beautifully. She hung up. I sat in that office for the rest of nap time. Just sat there staring at the enrollment form with her handwriting on it. Heard wonderful things about this teacher's enthusiasm. Every word carefully chosen. Every detail planned. I reported my Instagram account myself that afternoon. Went through the process to delete every post manually, even though I'd already deactivated it. I wanted it gone. All of it. For the next 3 weeks, I checked my mail obsessively. Every day I was terrified I'd find a subpoena, some official document demanding I appear in court, but nothing came. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Thursday. I called in sick to work that day. Told them I had food poisoning. Just stayed home in my apartment with my phone, refreshing Reddit, refreshing the court website, like I'd somehow get live updates. I thought about texting the husband to ask how it went, but what would I even say? Sorry you're losing your daughter because I fell for your wife's manipulation? Sorry I was too stupid to see what was happening? That evening, around 7, I got a text from an unknown number, just 2 sentences. She told me at the hearing she picked your daycare on purpose. Said it right to my face knowing I couldn't prove it. Thank you for trying. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I looked up the court records online. Public information. Anyone could access it. The ruling had been filed an hour ago. Primary physical custody awarded to mother. Permission to relocate to Vermont granted. Father granted supervised visitation 1 weekend per month, subject to review in 6 months. Mother permitted to choose supervisor for visits. I put my phone face down on the table and walked away.